Okay, we are going to special town council meeting to order. It is Thursday, December 11th, 2025, and it is 5:01 p.m. We are in person at 113 West Columbia Avenue as well as hybrid online. First agenda item is just our simple call to order. So starting to my right.
Kristen Permakoff.
11.
Ian Fee. Ashley Von Sprecken.
And myself, Teddy Erico. That brings us to agenda item number 1, work sessions, candidate interviews for the town council vacancy. And the first thing I'm going to do, well, first of all, thank you all. It's really nice to see the number of people willing to step up in a busy time to try to help your community. So for all 10 of you, it's really great to see that number versus the election that we had with so few choices. So I want to say on behalf of the town of Telluride, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for putting yourself out there because that's a tough thing as well. So the only thing I can say is we only have one seat to fill. And for the people who don't get appointed, please consider stepping up on a board. Please consider running in 2 years. Please consider to be part of what you are trying to accomplish, which is solutions for the town of Telluride. And thank you very much. Next item I'd like to go before we get started, it's just to kind of go over the process that we'll have today. We've had 2 people bow out of this appointment, so that will help us a little bit on time and process. And the first thing that we'll do is each candidate will be allotted 3 minutes each to introduce themselves. Remember to speak into a microphone. There's a couple that are out there, but we'll also have a handheld mic to pass around. And so in that 3 minutes, our clerk will ring a bell when you've got about 26 seconds left, so you know when to wrap up. We're going to have to keep it in time to that 3 minutes. After we get through those introductions, we will be asking a total of 3 questions to everybody. You've seen them all recently, and everyone will get 3 minutes to respond, and we'll kind of rotate the order a little bit to try to be as fair as possible. And within that, same thing. When you've got that 20 seconds left, we're going to ring the bell. We don't, we want everyone on Zoom to see the candidates and not have the number ticking away on the screen. Then once we wrap up the answers to the 3 questions, then we will take public input. And when we take that public input online and in person, everyone will have 2 minutes each. There will be no back and forth between the members of the public and town council or the candidates. This is just an opportunity to speak in support of somebody or opposition of a particular candidate. And then with that, we'll wrap up the meeting. And I'll mention this timeline again for the public especially, is that, you know, there's a couple other options to contribute in greater detail. December 15th, Monday, from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, there will be kind of an unofficial, not unofficial, an unscripted meet and greet. So the candidates are free to go there if you choose from 5 to 7, and anyone from the public can go to the Elks Club and just informally chat with the candidates to try to get to know them better, try to maybe ask them a question that you were unable to ask them today. You also have the opportunity to have public input in writing and emailed to the clerk at townclerk@telluride.gov. And we're going to give you an hour after that meeting at the Elks Club on Monday. So we'll give that opportunity until 8 p.m. on Monday, December 15th. And then lastly, the first item on the agenda on the town council meeting on December 16th at 9:30 a.m. will be public comment. And we'll make sure that council checks their emails after 8 p.m. on Monday to make sure we've gotten all of the comments that we have to take them under consideration in this process. So with that, we are going to move forward with the candidate interviews for the town council vacancy. And what we'll do is we'll go in the line right here as it is presented on the agenda. So with that, we will start online with Alan Canner.
Are there any questions about the process? Okay. Cool.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Alan Canner. I've lived in Telluride now full-time for about 4 years and had a second home here for 20 plus years. And I'm pleased to have this opportunity to talk to you and get to know you and have you get to know me. Most of my career has been as a trial lawyer, mostly doing environmental cases. I did the 3 Mile Island case. I represented the people around 3 Mile Island. I've represented the state of Louisiana in the Deepwater Horizon oil spill case. I've done a lot of environmental justice cases. I got an award from the U.S. Civil Rights Commission for my work in Cancer Alley in Louisiana. And as I said, I've been a full-time resident. Tell you a little bit about myself. So running a law firm, you have to know a lot about budgets, certainly about human capital and personnel issues, certainly about growing a small business. By way of footnote, I never really aspired to do anything political. I saw that there was a vacancy. I was a little disappointed that so few people ran for office. Not that we don't have a great council, don't get me wrong, but it seemed to me that people should step up and volunteer. And I just had one of those moments of, okay, you should volunteer and try to help and use your expertise and experience. I've mentioned in my resume that, I've been on boards of banks in the city of New Orleans. One reason that's significant is you really learn a lot about local economies when you work on a bank board. I also worked to start an art museum, Ogden, so that was pretty good. I also worked with the community to try to get a new Supreme Court building, but rather than building a new building, I was able to persuade people to take an old building and put it back into commerce. I personally think the greenest building is very often a building that already exists and can be rehabbed. So I've run a business. I do some real estate. My tenant in town is Over the Moon, Haley and Laura. They're great. So I know a little bit about our business. I certainly know a lot about tourism-based economies. I would say probably between working on various boards, I also, because of Katrina, got involved with helping the community in New Orleans recover from that disaster. And worked on emergency preparedness issues for future disasters. And I think the thing that I bring to the table as a lawyer is
And
that,
Alan,
Oh, I can't hear.
yeah,
thank you very much. I've got to interrupt you real quick just on the timing for it. And because we are limited to the candidates for 3 minutes each.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear a bell. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, it may be a little tougher online. We'll try to be better in the questions and wave to you and Wendy as well. My apologies for that. But thank you very much. And very impressive. That brings us to our next candidate on the list, and that would be Bryce Young. And Bryce, remember, speak into a microphone, please.
Hello, everybody. For the record, my name is Bryce Young, not to be confused with quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. I probably wouldn't qualify for housing here if I were at his salary. Quick clarification on my application. It did say I was not interested in continuing to run. I very much am interested in continuing. I wanted to clarify that. Must have been my fault. Slip of the mouse pad when going through the application online. Believe I have great perspective of town, having currently live in deed-restricted housing, working in the service industry, and also renting to another deed-restricted person for the entire time I've been in deed-restricted housing. I hope to fill the piece of the pie on the council for filling all those spots and for having housing knowledge and working on that. This is our Telluride family. We've all lived here a long time now. We have great unity. We've done a lot of celebrating together and we've mourned together too many times, unfortunately. We've always picked each other up and carried on. It's so great to read in all the external magazines, articles online, everywhere, that Telluride's known for its unity. It is. We have a great unity. I'm happy to be part of that unity and hope to bring that knowledge to the table of all the fantastic things we have in our town. Now I'd like to help by joining the board, and I believe I bring a high level of integrity and honesty. And on that level, with Cora being a huge thing, I believe I've always been an open book and happy to be full disclosure as a government worker. There's been many times I've spoke to many of you one-on-one about the town and things that could be helped. There's even a list I've talked to you guys about many times, town ideas and a whole bunch of ideas for the housing board, to be part of the housing subcommittee would be fantastic after joining the board. That is on the list to do's. There's a lot of obstacles facing town. That's no joke. We've got another email today from the mountain. We hope to work through that. I believe having enough relationships in town and having the knowledge I've experienced throughout living here for so long, 18 years. In fact, I just started year 19, December 6th. That was my anniversary for coming to town. Be excited about that. But I believe the relationships I've developed will help this board and solve a lot of the town problems. In closing, whatever the challenge, I believe I have the knowledge set, experience, and relationships developed in town to help maintain our superior quality of life, as stated in the
Good job. What?
thank you.
Bryce, that's great. Thank you very much. Going right down the list, next on that list is Grayson Fertig.
Hi, everybody. Grayson Fertig here. Thanks for the opportunity and recognizing everybody who wanted to step up as well and interested in this work. I'm certainly interested in the work that I see you all doing. And I see everybody who's an employee of the town bringing this town forward step by step every day. It's very interesting to see the process occur in a small town. I grew up in a small town. I know what that looks like. Intentionally moved to a small town 10 years ago, moved here to Telluride with my family. The idea was family values, education. Those are really driving aspects of why we arrived here. We had a footprint here, my wife's family, since the late 90s, and we would visit and that kind of thing. And when there was a moment, it made sense to come to Telluride and go nowhere else. And this, me being part of this process of jumping onto town council, would be about reinvesting or furthering that investment. A little impulsive, of course, but so was moving here. My background, my parents were both involved. My dad was a judge of probate. My mom was a librarian. There was a lot of that civic engagement in the house. Both parents were involved in the Historical Society. We grew up in a house that was built in 1740. So some of the aspects of Telluride are really appealing to me. We used to go on vacation to Williamsburg. So the history of Telluride is very interesting. A lot of people know me here as someone who's involved in the youth community, coaching youth sports. ages 3 to 18. That's that piece of it is an ecosystem that I'm particularly interested in, but at the same time, you'll see me as a business owner, someone who's operating businesses, as a volunteer. I've got kids in the mountain school. I work at the public school, so there's that crossover. So finding many ways to be engaged is important to me. This would be another way. Here we are, like there's a lawyer, there's people working in the service industry. My background is a liberal arts background. It's sort of a generalist, lifelong generalist, self-employed at a certain point. This would be another step in that general perspective on town. Thank you, everybody. Very interested in seeing where this all goes.
Grayson, thank you very much. Going down the list, we are going to go online with Wendy Wilbert. Wait, hold on a second. Let's make sure you're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yep. And I'll
Perfect.
get at 20 seconds. I'll also give you a wave if that helps.
That's
in
awesome.
addition to
Yeah.
the bell.
I didn't hear it for Alan either, so I sympathize. I am a 35-year resident of this community. I've been in the town of Telluride for 15 years now. I have raised all 3 of my children here independently. I've been very active in the school community. I've sat on pretty much every accountability committee there is, elementary school, intermediate school, middle school, the district accountability committee. I've been very involved with my children's education. During my time in Telluride, it has been mostly focused on my children's emotional and academic well-being. So I haven't, in the last 4 years, my youngest just graduated from college. I've been wanting to do something more in this community, and I've thought about running for town council, and this vacancy just kind of seemed like a perfect opportunity to try and step in. Within the community, back in the early 90s, I was president of the Women's Network for 2 years. I also sat on the Telluride Academy Board for 6 years, I think from 1999 to 2005. I am a certified victims advocate for the San Miguel Resource Center. I earned that certification in 2008. That led to employment with the Resource Center for several years, which then followed into a bookkeeping job, which I did there for 15 years. I now do bookkeeping on an independent basis, so I have a fairly flexible schedule, which allows me the opportunity to help with town council and some of the decisions that are being made. My educational background, I have my undergraduate in business management, and I have my master's degree in finance. That led me to a job in banking with Colorado National Bank, where I was senior credit analyst in commercial lending, which led me to Telluride. I was the senior credit analyst on the Telluride Corporation account, which is now Telluride Ski and Golf Company. And within 2 years of taking over that account, obviously I fell in love with Telluride and moved here and have not left. What else can I say? I have a vested interest in this community, having been here for so long. I've seen so many of the changes that have happened over the past 35 plus years. Like I said, 2 years before that, when I was on the ski company account, even going back to the day when the town took over the spur from the state. I have a great concern about the growth that's happening in our community and the ability of long-term residents like myself and their ability to stay here. A lot of decisions are being made that I think are happening a little too fast. And I'd like us to step back and pause and consider how decisions that are being made are affecting our community and our long-term residents. As a person who does not qualify for deed restricted housing, I'm now getting priced out of the local community through increases in taxes and water, sewer. Oh, I see the wave.
Wendy,
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Wendy, thank you very much.
Thanks, Teddy.
And honestly, thank both you and Alan for doing this online. It's a little different, that's for sure.
Oh, may I also add, I just have to apologize that I am going to have to step off because I had a prior commitment with my family in Denver, so it doesn't allow me to stay past 6. So I apologize for that.
Thank you for letting us know. That's very important. Next on the list is Kristen Coleman. And we need you a microphone, please. Yep, we've got a handheld and
Is this all right?
perfect.
I'm Kristen Joy Coleman, and I have lived here 31 years. And I came here quite by accident. I was driving across the country, and the rest, is history. I'm so happy that I made the decision to sleep in the park and find a job, a place to live, and a boyfriend the next day. But I have, I'm currently working in the public. I work at the market and I work at just moving snow. And I have, I spent 10 years in college, graduated top of my class from Cal Berkeley. I graduated top of my class from Notre Dame, and I graduated very high in my class in UCLA. And whenever people ask me why I'm doing what I'm doing, I tell them because I chose Telluride. Telluride makes me happy. I raised my 2 children here, and they're both, thriving in their environments. Before I did move for a few years and owned a company in Santa Fe. It was called the Idea Group, and I did a lot of work with small communities, helping with their economic development and helping them with their branding and their general message to the country to get people to come there. And I also am a avid writer. I've written 3 books. One was award winning. And that is kind of my passion, other than the beautiful things that are around us with, the mountains. I ski, I hike, I snowboard, do all of the fun things that we all enjoy. I also am very, very excited about this opportunity. I ran a couple of years ago and didn't get chosen, which was very disappointing, but I was very happy with all the way the people did their jobs. And I feel like it would have been a great member of the council, but I know that everyone did a great job. I also am just kind of astounded by the characteristics of all of the people who are applying. I mean, you guys really can't go wrong. Just choose one and it's going to be great. So thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate y'all.
Great. Thank you very much, Kristen. That brings us down the list to Lishay Benton.
Thank you. Oh, I think I can.
I'll move the mic itself. Yeah. There you
Okay, perfect. Hi, guys. I'm Lishay Benton. How am I going to do? I wanted to do my why, but I'll do a little bit about me first. So I came here about 11 years ago. I was in New York City. I was in a medical professional in advertising. And before that, I was a medical device rep for a long time, and I really enjoyed it. Although I kind of, I found that I was working a lot more than I was living. So I decided to take a sabbatical, and I came out here and I wanted to clear my head. I did 9 weeks of a yoga training program, and then I decided I wanted to ski a little. So I came out here and I stayed. So that's how I ended up here. But to talk about my why, I really put a lot of thought in this because I believe I'm the right choice, mostly because my motivation is rooted in genuine care for the community. I ran in 2023, and both times I was stepping forward not out of ambition, but more out of a sense of responsibility. This time even more so because I feel that there was a vacancy and it's an important role. And since I was the next highest vote getter, it just felt like a really good opportunity to be able to fill that role for the community, to represent not only the demonstrated opinion of our community that being the next highest vote getter, but also that I had the bandwidth. I have the desire, and it's important, honestly. I've always been involved. I care deeply. I've been on the Ecology Commission for 5 years. Then I've been on Planning and Zoning for another 5, which I'm currently on. I'm very involved with Elks, one-to-one mentoring, Rotary. I really enjoy my community, and I think I'm not a career politician. I'm a local, I'm a real estate agent. I like to have effect on people and community. And I think that when you have the ability to give back, and you should. Doesn't mean you need to, but that's how I feel. That's my credo. And more than anything, I think I care about this beautiful place that we call home. I want to serve in a way that is meaningful, that uplifts the community voices, and really brings together the differences and the divide that even though we are small and unified, I do believe that we have a lot of opportunity to bring each other closer and listen and solve problems together collaboratively. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lachey. Next on the list is Maria Stark.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and members of council and fellow candidates. So I moved to Telluride in 2021 and ran for council in 2023. So I was a bit of a newbie at that time because it was COVID when I first got here. But from listening to the community, I know that people are really worried about affordability, whether they can afford housing or whether they can afford their property taxes. And I go to senior lunch and I hear stories about the huge increases in property taxes and how that's potentially, forcing people out. Residents are also concerned about whether the town's financial trajectory is sustainable over time. And with the possible ski patrol strike, we may face economic pressures sooner than expected. So at this time, I know my skills in finance and data analysis would be well utilized. Currently, I serve on the town's Ecology Commission as an alternate, and I chair the San Miguel County Intergovernmental Working Group on Indigenous Peoples. But I started my career in financial modeling and real estate analysis, working with large housing portfolios. I later spent years doing quant research at a federal agency that oversees Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So doing analyzing housing affordability and modeling risks to the national mortgage market. So I've always been a quant jock. And then my compulsion around policy and politics meant that I spent a decade building and leading Emerge America, which is a national organization that trains Democratic women to run for public office, with over 7,000 alumni, 13 women in Congress, several governors, and hundreds of local elected officials, including our very own Adrienne Christie. She was an Emerge grad. This taught me how to translate complex policy issues into clear, accessible civic conversations. I bring a collaborative approach. I respect the experience on the council and the expertise of staff. I believe deeply in listening first, asking thoughtful questions, and communicating trade-offs to residents and making hard decisions. Ultimately, my goal is to keep Telluride on solid financial footing for the long term under different scenarios and regional analysis. It would be a privilege to support the council's work during the appointment. To summarize, I want to bring clarity and trust to complex financial decisions as the town navigates housing and infrastructure investments.
Great, Maria, thank you very much. Next up on our list is Stephen Pollard. You got a mic coming your way, or you can use the one on the table.
No, this is on? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Stephen Pollard. Thank you everyone for the time. Pleasure to meet everybody and see the amazing folks here. That how we've all come out of the woodwork to suddenly help out our town, I think is wonderful. Been in town for 11 years, been living here full time about 6 years. And when I tried to think about what my career has been and why I think it's relevant to a role in council, is I've been a consultant my whole career. What I think is unique about the consulting work that I've done, the first 10 years in the technology world and the last 20 years in the financial services world, is consulting with implementation. And that's what I feel like this role is we have big complex problems to solve, but lots of consultants just get to throw it over the wall. We have to implement. And I feel like I've spent almost 30 years in a variety of spaces doing that. So while I don't have expertise in lots of the specific areas we deal with, I feel like I'm a problem solver, and I'm one who loves to jump in, dive in. My wife makes fun of me because I read books with a pen in my hand, because I'm always wanting to learn and take notes, understand more about what I've just learned. Why now? I haven't run before. I haven't, to be honest, paid that much attention. But in the last couple of years, there have been a number of issues that have really boiled up, and I felt like we need to worry about our neighbors more. And for me, that's what it's about. I live in a neighborhood 6 blocks from here, and there's lots of dark houses in my neighborhood. It doesn't feel like a neighborhood as much as it could and should. And to me, the biggest thing in my mind, which is also one of the questions here, is that's what we need to be focused on. That's what we need to be worried about, is how can we bring neighborhood and more community back to this place? And that's what I hope to do if I get appointed to the council. Thank you.
Stephen, thank you very much. Next on our list, and Chris, please pronounce your last name because I don't want to butcher it.
Last name is pronounced Uline.
Uline,
There's
okay.
a lot of vowels in there that don't get pronounced. There's a couple letters that should be in there that aren't. I understand.
I would have been pretty close, but thank you for clarifying that. I hate, it drives me crazy when I butcher people's names. So, Chris, thank you for that. Obviously, you're up next.
Thank you. My name is Chris Uline. I'm currently a manager at Brown Dog. I've lived here for about 8 years now. Before I moved here, I visited a bunch. I had friends from college that moved here, and oddly enough, started working at Brown Dog years ago. I used to come up and visit when I was in the Marine Corps before I moved here, and fell in love with this place. I remember being here for a 4th of July parade, then going to slip and slide kickball in the park and thinking, this place is weird and wonderful. And when I got out, I moved here with a GRE study guide, never opened it, decided I wanted to make this place kind of my permanent home. And I've been here ever since. Started working for Boot Doctors with Bryce, actually, years ago, and then moved over to Brown Dog. And just between both jobs, I've just met a lot of people. I talked to a lot of people, and I feel like, I might not have the experience of everybody else that's applying. I read everyone's resumes, and I'm very impressed by everyone. Alan, yours was incredibly long. I did not finish it. But, I think you guys can't make a bad decision. And I'm hoping to, if I get the appointment, learn as I go. And if not, continue to be, a member of this town and show up to council meetings and keep learning about more and running in the future. I currently live in deed restricted housing. I've lived in rent controlled housing. I've lived in, free market housing, and have been told repeatedly, well, taxes are going up, your rent's going up. Hey, I might sell, your rent's going up. And dealt with that housing uncertainty every year. And that's a big thing that I'm here for, is trying to increase the certainty of those of us that live here so we can run for a 4-year term in council and not worry that my housing might go away. That I can, look at a job in this place and feel that I will be here through the whole time of it. It's been a concern of mine, and even my brother who lives here with me, that we would have housing certainty. And that's, I think, a big thing that I'm for. I don't think I have a 3-minute intro, so I'm going to just kind of end it off there, but thank you.
Perfect. Chris, thank you very much. And we have one person left in the introductions, and that would be Joshua Kane.
Hi there. First, I'd like to just thank the council for taking the time to listen to all of our testimony or what we bring forward. And thanks to my fellow applicants. My name is Josh Kane. I've lived in the area for about 7 years now, but I'm coming up on 3 years living in the town of Telluride, coming up this April. So I've been around for a little while. First came here as ski instructor and have since moved on from that. Currently, I work at Alpa, or not. It's now called Builders First Source, the lumberyard out there. As a student, I was trained to be an engineer. And so my interest is very, I have a good understanding of technological or technical topics. And I believe I can follow arguments that are technically dense. And to be able to translate that into something that the public and anyone who has questions could easily understand. And I feel like that's one of the primary reasons that I'm seeking this appointment, is that I feel like it's very important for accurate, understandable communication to happen between the council and the residents of the area. And I think that what we saw with the ballot measure 300 was that a lot of people in this past election, the ballot measure 300 came about because a lot of people didn't understand the multiple steps which led up to having certain things be addressed the way that they are. And I think that in order to, my goal, if appointed to this seat, would be to foster more understandable and timely and accurate communication, especially with the especially with procedures that I would like to be able to foster communication. And so that's the most important thing for me. Additionally, I'm a team player, and again, thanks for your time.
Great. Thank you very much. That concludes the introduction part of this interview special town council meeting. That will bring us to the next part of today's script, and that will be we will ask everyone the same question. There will be 3 different questions in total, and we'll pick someone in the line to start. We'll mix the line up as best we can to be fair, and everyone will be given 3 minutes to respond. We'll ring the bell with 20 seconds left and try to wave to Alan and Wendy at the 20-second mark to give you a kind of a heads up. And so with that, are there any questions of the candidates?
I just wondered if I could take a quick bathroom break.
I will grant that absolutely.
I mean, I'll listen.
Yeah, you
Right there.
absolutely right behind you there, and we can start in a different spot to give you some time, and no problem at all. So with that, we will start the questions, and I will say, Mian, would you like to read the first question? And mix it up, and we will, and how about we start with Chris?
Okay. Chris, given the number of large projects the town has on the horizon, including wastewater treatment plant upgrades or replacement, community housing projects, parking and transportation infrastructure, municipal facility updates, etc., what projects specifically are you excited to champion, if any? And what projects would you like the town to reconsider or pause, and why?
Thank you. So the projects that I think I'm most excited to champion would be community housing projects, affordable housing, increased deed restricted housing. I think that's a big one. I remember having moved here, a lot of friends lived in town. They rented houses up on the hill places. And as the longer I've lived here, I feel like less and less people can find rentals out there. So we need to increase community housing across the board. I've lived in Shindoka. I'm now over in Virginia Placer, and I've got friends that are in the Voodoo. And I've seen the quality that we can get out there, and how excited people are to get into affordable housing that is, again, long-term stable for them. So that's a big one that I'm excited to champion. I'll be honest, there's a couple of these that I'm not super knowledgeable on. The wastewater treatment plant, I hear a lot of back and forth, a lot of potential misinformation on sweet deals or things that are like all over the place. So some of them I would be, interested in learning more about, and then, possibly pausing if that's the correct step, but also continuing to move forward with whatever we've, you guys have made decisions on in the past. I need to keep learning more and more about these projects before I can speak on too many of them, because there's a lot of information out there and I'm not sure how accurate it all is. I hear a lot of different things. I think back to 300, and half the time I was unsure what, you talk to people and they're like, yeah, if I vote no on 300, I'm going to vote no on, it's voting no on the, wastewater treatment plant out there or the hospital going out there. And I'm like, is that what 300's for? So for me, I think I'm interested in learning a lot more about these projects before I say if I'd pause or stop any of them. But I think community housing for me is a big one that I would champion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. And it's the same question for this whole go around. And so if you need me to repeat the question,
Do they have a?
They have it.
everyone has a printed copy just in
Okay.
case, but
It's a
me
long question.
and happy to read the question again, if you need that, but we'll just go right around the horn and we'll go to Bryce next.
All these projects are fantastically and need to be worked on, all of them. I've talked to Jared at the county about moving the wastewater plant, the costs involved. I live in employee housing and know about the difficulties with it and talk with many people about the problems. Very involved with Parks and Rec and the facilities. And sometimes when I come home from the grocery store out of town, I can't park anywhere. So yeah, all these are hot topics. If I were to champion one, it would also be the housing. This is the root of so many problems in our town. If we could solve housing, get the workforce to run town, to keep our happiness, keep our longevity, that would be fantastic. So many ideas out there to help the housing, places to build, how to talk to the different groups that are against building in my backyard, as they say. Getting people to compromise, come to the table. Believe we have that ability to make that happen. We just have to reach the people. I would definitely champion the housing project. As for putting anything on pause, that would come down to worker hours and how much we can handle all at one time. So until I get involved more and know how many people can handle how many different projects, I wouldn't know what to put on pause just yet. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Bryce. We'll go for our next two folks that are online. We'll start with Wendy.
Thank you very much, Teddy. Yeah, the wastewater treatment plant, I don't think that's really up for discussion because I think it's going to happen. We're all seeing the increases in our water sewer bills, 20% a year. So I think that's going to move forward. I also am very concerned. I'm concerned about the character of our community and what's happening here. Somebody mentioned about us being a unified community, and I see us becoming more and more divided. I think there's the set of us who wants things to stay the same, and there's a set who just wants to build and develop and create more and more in our community. And there's only so much our small community can handle. As a long-term resident, I see our community becoming one of the workforce that can afford deed-restricted housing, that can qualify for deed-restricted housing, and the very wealthy. I think I mentioned earlier, I'm very concerned about my sustainability in this community. My property taxes have increased 300% since I bought my home 13 years ago. And my income has not increased to sustain that. And eventually, if I'm forced to sell, it's not going to be a local because a local won't be able to afford it. It's going to be to another second homeowner. And I live in a very nice community. Someone mentioned neighborhoods, and there's families with young children on my street. And I really enjoy that. And I see that going away if we don't get some sort of control over the growth in our community. I am a big proponent of affordable housing, but I think there's other options rather than to put it into the heart of Telluride. Our town can only support so much density, and the project that's being considered over at the base of Chair 7 with 900 parking units and all, more deed restricted housing, I think we need to put more focus on SMART and our regional transportation. Not everyone has to live in the heart of Telluride. When I worked in Denver, I commuted 45 minutes each way to work every day, but there was a great transportation system which I took part of every single day. I think we need to put more effort on the transportation system and maybe building affordable housing that isn't right in the heart of our community. Somebody mentioned parking. Parking is an issue. The constant construction that's going on in our community, I think, is making residents crazy. It just does not ever seem to end. I just think that we need to pause a little bit and consider other options. All right, thank you for your time. And I do apologize. I am going to have to step off. Like I said, I have a prior commitment with my family, but I'll look forward to hearing everyone's responses on the taped recording.
Great. Wendy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to you hanging in as long as you can and understand your prior commitments. With that, we will go to Alan.
Yeah. First thing, I want to be honest. I don't really understand each and every one of these projects in any kind of detail. I think for somebody like me, the first and most important job is to just learn to listen and be willing to read and do the homework, which I'm willing to do in order to better understand these projects. Strictly speaking, I know a lot about wastewater. I know a lot about drinking water. I was just talking about waste. And I know a lot about capital spending and competitive bidding and getting the right price for things. I think I'm a real stickler for that kind of thing, not wasting money in any project that you do. I can't really call myself a champion of any of these issues. I mean, I think you've got to look at the totality and in your own mind, listening to the community, try to understand better, and fellow council members, what the priorities are, and make sure you come up with a plan that actually can get those priorities implemented in a timely and cost-effective fashion. I think that's where I am, but I know a lot about pollution. I know a lot about brownfield development. I know a lot about infrastructure. I've been involved in some real estate projects where, parking's been a big part of it. So I would say overall, listen, learn, work collaboratively to gather that information, work collaboratively to develop priorities, and then implement. I do agree with some of my fellow candidates. Housing's a big issue, and it's got to be dealt with. And you don't deal with it once. It's a long-term commitment, but you also have to figure out ways to pay for it. Question 1 talks about really spending money. We have a tourist-based economy. Are there ways to leverage more economic gain that'll help us pay for some of this stuff, as opposed to just having more taxes and all? And those are issues that I'm also very interested in.
Great. Alan, thank you very much for that response. That will bring us all the way around the room to Lachey.
Hi. All right. So these are all important. I don't know that you can actually prioritize them. However, I will. I don't think you have anything without water. Water is life. In our 2023 election, I was a big proponent of that. I did do a little investigation talking with our personnel and did some research. They were built in the 70s, late 70s, with an expectancy of about 30, 40 years. We've surpassed that. We've obviously outgrown it. We're having huge issues with expanding and even having sustainable growth without having proper water treatment plant. So I know that that is underway. Really excited to see that the San Miguel County special meeting with the PUD at Society Turn was approved. So that is a great leap forward to know that we're on the right path there. Housing, again, we have been on this like white on rice. We have plans. We can't do it overnight. I think, again, 121 units with the Society Turn is a huge thing for us in the right direction. With the Canyon lands, we have so many other things that are underway, but they take a while. I think there's opportunities to be creative, working with the community, working with real estate agents that are selling homes that have accessory dwelling units, trying to forge those relationships between the new homeowners that are coming in and don't know people and connecting them with people that could live in those units that they can then have a relationship and it could be symbiotic. I think there's a lot of opportunities that we maybe could explore. Parking, I love this idea because I love the idea of maybe down the road being a little bit more like Zermatt or something where you have a parking all consolidated and you transport people into the town where you don't have to deal with cars. We're a walkable pedestrian community. And I think we should embrace that and stand out and be different and creative and innovative. That's a huge project, I get. But I'm just saying, I think that there's ways to limit our car. I mean, I drive everywhere, so I'm a big, talking out one. But, I think that there's creative ways, especially in the summer when the weather's nicer, EV bikes, all the things. So I don't know that you can pause or reconsider these, but I think that you can think outside the box. And I think they're all important. And I think if we work together and collaborate, especially with this community that we have of second, third, fourth homeowners and locals, if we can come together and try and figure out collaborative solutions that feel good. That's
Great.
it.
Lucia, thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.
Josh, you're up next.
All right, thanks. I think that the priority for me, of course, would be community housing. I think that's the most important thing to have. And we heard earlier that one of the applicants lives in a neighborhood where half the houses or more than half are dark, often dark. And I see that as a hurdle to being able to support and sustain a sense of community where we live. And I think that's the most important thing for us moving forward, is to be able to have a good, strong sense of community. So that's something that's important. And in order to have a good community, we need to have people live here. And in order to have people live here, it's very important to have community housing available. In terms of the wastewater treatment plant, I have a little bit of background. I worked for a couple of years for a company that built portable water purification units for drinking water, but also for the man camps up north in Montana. For the drilling projects up there, they built like a containerized water treatment, membrane treatment system. So I've got a little bit of background in the technical side of the wastewater treatment plant, but I think that given what we have now, that we've exceeded the expected life of our current installation, it's very important for us to plan in a logical and reasonable fashion how we can best address the next 30 to 50 years for wastewater treatment. Parking, I am interested by your idea, Lishay, of having a more walking community and maybe park on the edge of town and transport around by some other means of transport than necessarily having everyone drive everywhere and then need to park. I think that having a 900 spot parking structure where I think 900, that's a huge structure and would be difficult. Anyway, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Josh. Next up is Stephen.
I mean, it feels a little
Wait,
redundant.
wait for the microphone.
It feels a little redundant to acknowledge that our wastewater treatment plant is past its life expectancy and we need to fix that we need better housing, parking, transportation needs to continue to evolve and grow. I think where I sit and where I've been thinking about this is more about the lens at which we're looking at these projects through. And there was a lovely demonstration at town council a few months ago of a old timer with a bucket of water. Some folks might remember, and he was filling up a bucket and basically saying, at some point the bucket gets full. And that's what I think the lens we need to be thinking about is this valley in this town can't keep spreading. It can't, we know the limitations. I don't need to reiterate it. And in my mind, that's the key thing, that we're looking at these projects and decisions through the lens of this is a limited space. And making decisions thinking about what is going to be most important, provide us the most leverage and longevity in this limited space that we have. And that's how I would look at any one of these projects going forward is we have your expertise, we have all the staff, we have all the people we hire, they're experts that know this stuff, but their lens may be the project. And I think the lens needs to be a little different to think about the space. And that's how I would look at these things a little differently. Thanks.
Great. Stephen, thank you very much. Kristen, you're up.
Hi. I like all of us, I think the one that I would most champion is the housing issue. I am very fortunate to live in Gold Run, which I've lived for 13 years, and it's been absolutely wonderful. And to speak to your point, I mean, the neighbors all live there. And so it's a wonderful, wonderful place to live. And I agree with you that I would like to see not only us find ways to have more affordable housing, but also make it more affordable. Because, you know, when I talk to people, I have listened to the rates, and I mean, they're high. They're not necessarily, you have to have, you know, 2 or 3 jobs to pay these rents. And so I would be interested in, like, you all know how this is all developed and why it has become this way. But I hear frequently that people are considering being priced out of Telluride. And, you know, it is a very expensive place to live, as we all know. But I would like to put on some creative thinking and see, do the research. Like you said, I'm an avid reader, and learn more and try to find creative ways to allow more people to live here and allow more people to not have so many jobs to pay the rent. On that same note, I'm very interested in your idea about when I ran for council before. That was one of the things I was interested in thinking about, is having, like Aspen, a walking corridor so that we could, you know, and I know it's very difficult and very costly, but so we could, you know, one of my other things that I would definitely champion, I do not have a car, is the bus system. And I think there are so much progress. And I think another thing is the dialogue between, like, the bus staying and the SMART and the town could be much better, because, you know, there'll be like 1 minute misses and you'll see your bus going. So I would like to champion that issue as well. So thank you very much, everyone.
Kristen, thank you. We're off to Mario.
So last night at the PUD meeting, right before the commissioners approved the Genesee project, Ann Brown, I thought, put it really well, which is that this generation of policymakers in this county are challenged with the fact that basically for 30, 40 years, the infrastructure has not been taken care of. And so now Telluride and other municipalities in the county are tasked with, you know, things that people don't love to pay for because they're not very fun. But I feel like the wastewater treatment and the municipal buildings and all these things are really important. Of course, community housing is more fun to think about because we all can relate to where we live. So I certainly think there's opportunity to be creative with community housing, such as modular building to make these units more affordable. I initially was thinking modular wouldn't work here because this is harsh weather. But Sweden has 80% of all single-family homes are modular housing. The other thing is, I think with some of these new projects, that it makes sense to have, market rate units at the top to subsidize the other units so that they are truly affordable for people. Because I do see how some of, like Voodoo is pretty expensive. And, I think we can be creative. Overall, I mean, I'm all about long-term planning, long-term projections, analyzing the hell out of the numbers. That's where I get my joy. So I think they're all super important. Thank you.
And last but not least, we've got Grayson Fertig.
So as everyone's mentioned, yes, all these projects are very important. And you look at the wastewater being one of them. And to me, it's like, what's going on below the ground? Who's producing the wastewater issues and the spillover effect of that? HOAs all across town talking about increased dues. What are the rates coming up? All that. That's all something everyone's mentioned about. I think I can differentiate myself because I can really nail on the community piece of this. What am I going to champion? It's like the thing that I've been championing since I moved here 10 years ago is people, especially young people, the people that are going to fill future community vacancies as far as like, say, this board will come back and rent a house, buy a house, work in a store, work in wherever. So it's one of those things, better well done than well said. And I think I can really say that I've done the work of building the community across the last 10 years. I'll look back in 2020, a high water mark where I worked very closely with Parks and Rec to keep the Hanley Pavilion open during COVID so that our community had a place to go. That year we had 200 plus young people using the facility every day when schools were closed, when businesses were closed all across the country. We didn't miss one operating day. So coming up with novel solutions so that the community could continue to thrive. Elena, you had said something about decision-making being numbers driven. So it took some of the guesswork out of it. And I agree with that. As we look at some of these big projects, we would put on pause or put on hold or stop a project that didn't make sense from a numbers perspective. What we can't really measure is young people. Where are they headed? Community. How important is it? People will want to come here if they feel the community is a magnet and draws people in. And I think, again, as a youth sports coach, as a leader in the high school, as someone who shows up regularly to promote well-being in this community, I think the people are what I would be championing. And I think I have a record of doing that. It's not to say these other projects aren't important, but it's a lot about stuff and things and building. And I think your point's a good one where there's a max here. It's not a 20,000 person valley. It is who's here and what are we doing together?
Great. Grayson, thank you very much. That wraps up our first question of the night. We have two more. Unfortunately, it looks like we've lost Wendy for the rest of the meeting. And so we'll just keep, as Grayson said, championing on. And that brings us to question number 2. Dan, would you like to read question 2 and start with Lishay, please?
Happily. Lishay, hello. How are you prepared to manage the level of engagement of our constituents and the potential for negativity in a public forum with decisions you make?
Okay, thank you. Well, we come up on that a lot with P&Z as a quasi judicial board. I look at it as an opportunity for discussion. Obviously, if somebody is upset, that means that there's more to uncover, and you can't make everybody happy, but you have to think of the whole community, and there's more to understand. I mean, when people are really passionate and really upset, there's an opportunity there to connect and figure out their pain points and in how they overlap with others and solutions. And, you can't make everybody happy, like I said, but you can come to a consensus that there's a large solutions that can help a lot of people. So I'm not afraid of confrontation or negativity because I do believe there are opportunities.
Great. Thank you, Lachey. We will go next to Josh.
Thanks. As far as the level of engagement of the community, I think that it seems like it's hard to get a lot of turnout for a lot of, administrative meetings, such as like the one that we're in now and the regular council sessions. It's hard for people to be able to schedule, time to be able to attend or comment. And I think that I would like to take the opportunity, if I was appointed, that to try and make it easier for people to express their views to the council. The potential for negativity, as Lachey said, I think that negativity, if someone's really fired up, then that's an opportunity to connect with them because they've got something they want to say. They've got a point they want to make. And it would be my goal to listen more than I would talk as a council member, and to really try and understand where people are coming from, and to try and, engage with that negativity and shift it into collaboration. And that would be the approach I would take.
Great, Josh. Thank you very much. Stephen, you're up next.
Sure. So in terms of managing, sorry. Loud anyway. In terms of managing level of engagement, I see two facets. I see one, which I've heard council talk a lot about, and people talk about, no one comes to meetings, no one's engaged. So I don't know the right answer, and you guys have spent a ton of time and energy. I'm sure there's other creative ideas to get people more engaged. But I think that's one piece. But I think the other piece is, in this tiny town that we live in, any one of you, I'm imagining, walks down the street and has constituents walk up to you, want to talk about things, or give you their input, give their perspective, give you their feedback, maybe pleasantly, maybe not so pleasantly, maybe come to your place of work or your business. And prior to living here, I spent 20 years living in a very small town, running a financial services business that was very intimate. And walking down the street and having clients come up to me, having to manage, they wanted to talk right then and there about their portfolio, their estate plan, their tax issues. Maybe it was good, maybe it was bad. But I quickly learned to navigate how to engage and pause and move on, how to find the right time and place. So I welcome that piece of it. I think it makes this job a little different than in a really big town. You're sitting far away from your constituents. Here, you're going to bump into people all day long and have to engage. And I would welcome that piece of it. In terms of negativity about decisions that we make, it's not personal, I think, is how I try to look at it. And I think about my business as well. Like, I can't control the stock market. You can be upset about it, and that's going to come at me, but I have no control over that and what happens. In the same sense, when we make decisions here, it's not because someone doesn't like me. They don't like the project. They don't like the cost. So I think I would focus on framing it about, okay, let's talk about this issue. Let's put aside you and me. Let's talk about the specific concern you have about this project, about the cost, about the timeline, and try and refocus it, to use your words, in that sense, in that way.
Great. Stephen, thank you very much. Kristen, you're up next.
Hey, well, I similarly look at this as an opportunity. At the market, I have people telling me their thoughts. I feel like in my past, I was a family therapist and I was an art therapist. And so I spent a great deal of time with my clients, listening and helping people to communicate with one another in a productive manner. Trying to, not to keep the negativity out of it. I also believe that people are more creative than they think they are. And sometimes when they get kind of on a mission or on an idea that they're, got to have it this way, they forget to consider all the different creative ways that they could actually solve the problem with considering other people's ideas and bringing those together. So I think I really, really welcome this part of the job if I'm elected or chosen. I think I would be really good at handling the negativity and to listening to people and helping them to understand one another better.
Great. Thank you, Kristen. Mario.
I agree with a lot that's been said already. I think, people's anger with decisions that council makes is not personal. These are complex decisions. Not everyone's going to be happy. And so, you just can't take it personally. I also think that, and I know you all have worked hard with greater civic engagement, which is a tough thing. But, I would certainly try to contribute ideas on more civic engagement and, like coffee with the counselor. I mean, just, all the usual set of strategies, I guess. And I think part of what people get pissed off about is they either are surprised because they didn't hear the communication because people tune in and they tune out. And so I'll quote another Ann Richards, the former governor, the late governor of Texas. And she said that you have to repeat yourself till you're bored, blue in the face. And that only then, when you're bored, is when people will first start to listen to you. And so I think it's again about nauseatingly repetitive communications and, work on civic engagement, sometimes like creative ideas. Like I did a project where we were trying to get people's input on a budget. So we had 10 glass jars labeled with the 10 priority areas of how to spend the federal money that came from COVID. And so the 10 jars were labeled with each of these areas, both in English and in Spanish, and everybody was given $100 of Monopoly money to spend it on their priorities. And then, collectively you could see what people cared about. Anyway, so I too think that's just part of the job. And for me, talking to people about what they care about is half the fun. Thank you.
Mario, thank you very much. Grayson?
Certainly true that you have to repeat yourself. I've dealt a lot with people's hopes and dreams in this community, and that's interesting, and it's certainly a lot of weight to carry. Being at the leading edge of several organizations over the last 10 years, I've felt the very real feedback from the community, and I think it's interesting. I think it's challenging. There's been nights where you go home and I don't sleep and, you just want to kind of like keep to yourself. That's been my very real and lived experience. So got some practice at it. And that's for better or for worse. Not everyone's going to love everything you're going to do, but you have to be able to explain yourself, of course, work with a group of people, come up with a decision that everyone signed off on and agreed on, and be able to say, this is what we felt was the best thing at the time. We're willing to look back on it or continue to look at it or whatever the case may be, but we've had to make a decision at this point in the road and we're going to go forward. Doesn't mean you need to be closed off, doesn't mean you need to be hard or thick-skinned or defensive or anything like that. And it certainly doesn't mean you need to take it personally. The point really being is that I've got quite a bit of experience feeling those feelings of people having a lot of input. That's okay. Being okay with it, living with it, walking down the street and living your own authentic experience here in Telluride, and also remembering that you've got to do things to serve yourself as well as serve the community. It can't just be, I'm here to give. It's got to be realistic. So coming at this from a very realistic perspective, I think it's a good question to have on there. But it takes practice is the number one thing that I'll say. And I feel like I've been practicing for the last 10 years in this community with my friends, neighbors, acquaintances. And that's been interesting. Look forward to doing more of that.
Grayson, thank you. We'll go to Chris.
Thank you. The level of engagement with constituents as a current constituent, I've chatted with Dan, Geneva, other members of council. Like, I just enjoy chatting with people about this type of stuff. And it's kind of where my desire to do this has come from is, in the summer, sitting on the bench in front of La Cocina, drinking my coffee and just having conversations with people and, being engaged with people on Main Street as often as possible. People coming into the restaurant, when I used to be a boot fitter, just, being prepared to talk to people about this type of stuff. I'm looking forward to that level of engagement. I've enjoyed it from this side, talking to you guys, wherever it is, riding the bus with you, Teddy, seeing you guys around town. I think I would enjoy that level of engagement. And as far as the potential for negativity, not every decision will be popular, but I think if, having made them in the Marine Corps and then having made them, tough decisions in the restaurant, if you can explain that they are well thought of and, they've come from a place of logic for the, either the greater good or for the good of as many, if you can explain your decision and I feel like you understand why you're making that decision, you can talk to people about it. And not everyone's going to be happy with every decision, but I think, the more you understand the problem and the people and talk to them again and engage with them out there on the street, the more likely you are to, turn that negativity into understandable neutrality or positivity. I think back to on election day this year, actually me and Dan were chatting about something and somebody asked us a question on the election and we spent 10 minutes as he was walking to the polls talking about it. And, he's like, and he changed his mind because, we were able to explain the issue to him in a way he hadn't thought about. Because I think, understanding it in a different way was helpful for him. So I think that's, you can't make everyone positive, but you can potentially limit the negativity. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Bryce?
As for level of engagement, when you love town like we all do, you're fully committed to have 100% engagement. And I'm happy to do that for the term while being on the council. And to take on everybody's opinion, whether it's the same as yours or not. It's important to listen to every single person, not turn down any opinions, and perhaps talk with them and help inform so you can help people with their opinions as well. I've appreciated the time each of you have given me over the years as I've reached out and talked about certain opinions. And that's the same courtesy I'd like to extend to everybody in town at any time for full engagement, as one should expect in a small town where you can sit out on the sidewalk and someone's going to engage you no matter what. As for potential for negativity, it's just funny. In a past life in a different job, I was a professional umpire in baseball. And I see a lot of the similarities of the negativity you take on the field is the same we'll be able to cope with right here on town council. Many times I've had to refer to my professional training in conflict resolution and how to talk people down or just talk to them and hear them. A lot of strategies on how to deal with negativity. Bottom line is we'll be able to handle that thick-skinned level of working with town council at that level. Thank you.
Thank you, Bryce. And last, we're going to go online to Alan.
Yeah. Like my mom said, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. The way to work with people, I think, is to listen and let people feel that they really have been heard. And sometimes you have to ask a lot of questions to really understand somebody's point of view. I think that you have to be staunch advocate for the view that politics is about compromise in a democracy. We don't want autocrats. We don't want people winner take all. You know, we don't want the perfect to be the enemy of the good. We want to try to get things done for the common good. And I think if you've got to educate people that that's one of the cornerstones of a democracy and of living and working and succeeding as a small town. There are often people who'll be negative. I get that. You know, you have to have a thick skin. So long as the process was fair, open, transparent, they got a hearing. You made a decision based on your best judgment under the circumstances and given the available data. You can deal, I think you can handle the negativity. That's not to say there aren't a few crazy people out there, okay? But putting that aside, no, there's some people who just, you know, they're just not going to listen, and they're going to be mad, and okay, that's fine. There's probably a reason for that, but you know, you try to listen and you move forward. I mean, the job, as I understand it, is to try every day, not necessarily to hit a home run, but hit singles and make it work for people and make, you know, if I can leave on my last day a council and say, you know, I did these or I helped do these things with the help of my community, the fellow council people, I think that's what it's all about.
Great, Alan. Thank you very much for that. That wraps up question number 2. We have the third question up right now. And Kristen, would you like to read the third question? And
Sure.
we will start with Kristen Coleman, please.
Explain your perspective on our tourism-based economy, and how do you feel the town of Telluride Council can balance the desire for a greater sense of community with the needs for a stable economy? What is the greatest threat to Telluride's sense of community and overall tourism-based economy? Mouthful.
Thank you. Man, the greatest threat, I would say, well, I mean, we're sort of living it right now with what's going on with Telski and the mountain. And it's frightening, I think, for a lot of people, for so many reasons. But having, you know, the potential for the strike and having, you know, a lot of people I've heard, you know, through the grapevine and talking to people at the market are canceling their trips. You know, the numbers are down in hotels. This is, of course, not, I don't have statistics, but this is what I hear. And that is going to affect all of us. And so, yes, we all love that we have this tourism-based economy, and it's wonderful when it's wonderful. But there are so many issues that come from it. And I think, you know, climate change is affecting it, especially obviously in the winter. And now with what's going on with Telski, and you know, this of course ties into the other issue, you know, cost of living and what is, you know, keeping people housed and all of that. I've discussed with people who are so frightened by what's going on that they're considering moving, and you know, they're not happy about it. And so I think you know, I don't know if I'm supposed to answer how to solve it because I can't, but I feel that the council, it has done a great job at understanding the issues and discussing the issues and working on solving them. And I don't, you know what the council's involvement has been with in this current situation. but I would hope as a council member that we would be able to do some, creative thinking and some creative problem solving and work on, us all thriving and continuing to live in this tourism-based economy. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kristen. Mario, you're up next.
Well, I would ditto Kristen's comments about what the challenges are, or the biggest threat to the economy here is the Telsky and more immediately than we might have expected a month ago, but and climate change. I mean, I think long term, Telluride will be fine, because if we have climate change, that means our, the biggest buyers coming from Arizona and Texas it'll be even hotter down there. But in any case, in the nearer term, I think it means focusing on building out fall and early spring, or earlier in the spring, because we need to diversify a bit away from the winter economy, and also, more sleigh rides, and, more activities that take advantage of the beautiful winters here, even if we are having problems with Telsky. Let me just say, Telsky is freaking me out right now. And, with community, I think affordability, of course, is the biggest concern. And what council can do is work its best to ameliorate some of those challenges. And I think there are creative solutions out there. And I do think the community is largely really united. And, sometimes people get mad at each other, but I don't think that's long term. Thanks.
Maria, thanks. Grayson?
So as far as our economy, who we are, that sort of thing, acceptance, absolutely. We have to start with that. This is what's going on here. There's certainly going to be some macro, whether it be climate change, the stock market, interest rates, whatever it ends up being, they'll all have an effect on us and how we present ourselves to outside investors or people that want to come here and spend time, spend money, spend holidays with their families. We have to understand that people may look forward the whole year to come at Christmas and spend those 2 weeks with their family and not get into a car. And we have to remember that that's a novel activity. Something that I look at a lot as a business owner, small business owner in town. I'm kind of the back end of two businesses, but notably one being Easy Rider with Johnny Haas. We are always talking about how to serve both visitors and our core customers. And that is a balancing act. And so I think it really does come down to having a practice sensitivity to that balance. What does that look like? Another piece of this, as far as like understanding that acceptance piece and working with young people and saying, okay, listen, you live in this type of town. If we lived in a coal mining town, you'd have to say we live in a coal mining town. It's really exciting. It's really interesting to develop community activities and a strong sense of Telluride pride amongst the people that live here, and be able to put that on display, not as like we're showing off or anything like that, but that is the engagement. That is how we connect with each other. People come here and they're like, wow, that's interesting. I don't see anything like that in my metropolitan area or my urban area or suburban area or my small town somewhere else. This is unique. And I think Telluride, us knowing each other, us behaving the way we do with each other as if it's extended family, that's something that we can't put at risk because we're infighting and it's us against them in town, because that'll be reflected when people come to visit and they'll get a sense like, oh, no one wants us here. And that can't be the case, because we do need those resources coming in, and we do need those resources moving around in a circular fashion in town. So I think it's really important that we just recognize and accept that this is who we are, and then work well together to identify solutions that are both big and small, and that'll be that.
Grayson, thank you. Chris, you're up.
So yeah, having worked in, Brown Dog Pizza and then for Boot Doctors, I've seen the tourism-based economy, directly as a frontline person. And I've learned to love it. The money that comes in over Christmas, over the summer, 4th of July is awesome. And it is a, huge boom for this town to see all that stuff come in. But I do think that we do need to balance, getting all these people to show up with getting people to be here year round and to live here and love this community, to be in the, in hockey, in soccer, in softball, getting people, in the community and living in the community and being part of the community. The greatest threat, I think, to our sense of community would be potentially lack of housing. I think back in Blizzard of Oz, Ross the Stevie, in the 80s was talking about, these people are going to show up to the last dollar shoe in the buck and wonder where the locals are. What makes Telluride different than a lot of other mountain towns, I think, is the locals, keeping Telluride a little weird. That's a big part of why I moved here. It's why I've enjoyed being part of the community, is, that, and, the locals will keep us, going to the restaurants during off seasons, during the shoulder seasons. And that helps make the economy a little more stable on the bottom end, because when we go big, over 4th of July, over Christmas, that's great. But we also need to, right now, there's not a lot of people around. Getting the locals out for Noel night, getting the locals out during off season is, I think, another part of keeping the economy stable. So it doesn't feel like I have to spend all of March saving for April. How can I get, people spending money in April as well, even if it's, just our friends and locals, taking care of each other after the season. I think, our sense of community can be built by a sense of housing, and stability there. Telluride's a weird community and I love it. And I think, keeping young people, locals able to live here and not have to move to Rico, not have to move to Ridgeway, to Norwood is a big part of that. So thank you.
Chris, thank you. Bryce?
When I first moved here 19 years ago, we definitely had a stronger sense of community, and it's been a struggle to keep that community. And it's no secret, the majority of our workforce commutes in from all these surrounding towns. As council people, we can work to get these projects going. Chair 7, other surrounding areas, Ilium, get these houses built, which will get that demand for transportation, which we can put in our shuttles and get people to stay in town. So when they clock out after work, they'll go out for a bite and a drink, and then they'll go home. Right now, I get so many friends that they get off work and they commute out of town. And our sense of community has diminished a little bit from that aspect. We can work to bring that back with these projects that are all planned out there. For the threat of community versus the tourism-based economy, it's no secret, Telluride has quite expensive. It's so hard to get friends and family to come visit now because the prices are so high. So between community and tourism, there's a level out there we can find. We need this much housing. We need this many empty homeowners. We need this many tourists to come to town. And all that delicate balance can be found with all these projects we're working on, and we can rebuild our economy for sure. Maintain our economy and sustain and have a longevity of Telluride for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Bryce. We're going online with Alan.
Yeah, I think the community sense community is very strong. It's one of the defining features of Telluride. The reason I chose Telluride as opposed to Vail or Aspen, 25 years ago, was for my kids. I wanted them surrounded by people who cared about the outdoors, cared about each other, more so than they cared about materialistic sorts of things. And Telluride delivered on all accounts. I think that one thing that I know was successful in New Orleans is locals days. When we had like a festival, like a jazz fest, there's always a locals day. And there's local time, like when you close Main Street and listen to music, and people are just together and you create opportunities. that are focused on locals, not the tourists. Do it during the shoulder seasons. I think those are wonderful days. I think that you can build on a tourist-based economy. I mean, that's a lot of choices. There are a lot of options out there. I know that in New Orleans, they went with they leveraged the fact that people generally had a good time in New Orleans, just like people generally have a good time in Telluride. With, well, let's try to get more conventions. They bring in money. They bring in people during the less busy times and fill the hotel rooms and whatnot, create jobs, and enable employers to pay more, perhaps. I think also just bringing scale to things. Like, for example, I think as an unelected council person, any one of us should try to have more coffee chats, open doors, talk to people, hear their ideas on what we can do for our community. It's kind of an odd question because there's the celebration of what's great about Telluride, its essence that I don't see has diminished greatly over the years, except for the stress of housing issues and economic issues for people who have to juggle 3, 4, 5 jobs. And I know I started in community college and had 3 jobs to get through school and 3 jobs when I was in university. It's hard. People do it. But you want to bring in young, talented people, interesting people to add to our community. I think right now the biggest threat to what we have going is probably the ski company, and people have to really focus on it. And I need to shut up. Sorry.
Alan, thank you very much.
Okay.
We'll go to Lachey.
Okay. Okay, my perspective on a tourism-based economy. I would say, obviously, what everybody's been mentioning, Telsky being the biggest employer, followed by the government, and then probably Josh Klein. I think that that's important that we support those and we have good relationships with all those, because they can't just carry the entire community. But I also think there's a lot of opportunity. I do believe that we have a pricing affordability problem. That's a no-brainer. But that all happened, I believe. I was lucky to be here for the last decade where I saw the before COVID and now the after COVID, and then the during COVID from a real estate perspective, seeing houses sell 3 times and watching the property values just go nuts. That really, quite frankly, was a planning and zoning issue that you could have done something a decade before, but nobody saw that coming, and it only exacerbated and accelerated everything. But we have to have very sustainable planning and zoning thoughts like that how can, and we are, and we do, but obviously that ship has, sailed. But I do believe that we're doing a good job on that front. I also think there's a big opportunity with small businesses. Like when I first moved here from New York City, I recognized quickly you're either the owner or the worker. There's not a lot of middle management. There's not a lot of 6-figure jobs here. So I think that we can have, and I was part of the Telluride Accelerator program, and I think that's so cool. And I think we should have more of that and help people groom them to possibly buy some of these local businesses that people are going to be retiring or looking, baby boomers leaving. I think that that's the essence of keeping community thriving, is giving people opportunities like that to not just be seasonal workers, because I do love our off seasons and I don't want them to go away. But I think that having that kind of community, nonprofits, I helped AHA build a program since I work with part-time homeowners that can give back and let people like the teachers and class trainers come and stay, for exchange for nonprofits. You can't do tax write-offs anymore, but doing things that are creative to help our robust creative community as well. I think what people come and experience in Telluride when they visit is that community. They fall in love with it because it is that small town. Everybody knows each other. And I think we need to embrace that and really lean into it and just have more opportunities to collaborate and hear each other out. I think during that time in COVID, people bought houses because they wanted to escape. They realized, oh, this is far and I have to go back to work. And so now I think that we have a gap that we have to build those relationships back and see each other not just for the houses that we live in, but what we bring to the community.
Thank you, Lishay. Josh?
Thank you. I was kind of curious about the way that the question is phrased, sort of implying that having a greater sense of community has to be balanced against a stable economy. So you can have one or the other, or there's got to be, I mean, why do they have to necessarily be opposed? And that would be what I would like to, encourage would be more creative ways to diversify the economy. There's got to be some entrepreneurs, people who have ideas about how, building, backcountry ski equipment or outdoor equipment, or, that could be something to try and encourage, try and get more, all facets. It doesn't necessarily always have to everything be all about the tourism economy. There are opportunities to branch into other facets, other areas. And as far as the greatest threat to the sense of community, I mean, I think it's just gets back to the empty houses, the dark houses on neighborhood streets. And I don't know what the answer is to that, but there's got to be some creative way to figure out how to have more residents in neighborhoods. Obviously, affordability, overpricing is a factor in there. And I would like to also just jump back to the second question. One thing that occurred to me is that the negativity, when someone's really fired up about something, not only can you, hopefully by listening and communicating with them, turn that from anger into collaboration. It's an opportunity. If someone's really fired up, it's an opportunity to get them involved, to get them to, help out and do something to make the change that they're looking for. And so, yeah, that would be my goal in terms of that, in terms of the engagement with constituents. And as far as the economy goes, I think that there's an opportunity to diversify. And then I just wanted to bring up a comment that I overheard from someone who's not a local. Last weekend was that they said, this place has the youngest old people anywhere. And I think we need to, embrace that. And that's why people love Telluride. That's why I love this place.
Josh, thank you. Stephen.
I had the same thought Josh did, which is I don't think community and economy have to offset. I thought about what makes a great community is diversity, age, gender, race, economic position, tenure in community, which lots of people in our town would like to hang their hats on. What makes a stable economy? Diverse. Okay, well, as was said earlier, very clear by Grayson, we live in a resort town. The resort's not going away. That's reality. I think the question becomes, what other layers of diversity can we add to the economy to offset a little bit? The elephant in the room is not going away, but off seasons, other businesses, you just had a creative idea. Could there be some light industry that we do? But to me, it's about diversity. And then a diverse community, in my mind, leads to a more stable economy. In terms of the greatest threat, to me, it's that we don't have enough of a middle. I don't even want to say middle class because I don't know what the right language is. And the gaps in our community are maybe as wide as any place in the country, if not in the world. But I think we don't have enough in the middle. Economically, the right housing, the right business opportunities. So that to me, I think is the biggest threat, that we continue to spread out and just have the very, very high and whatever that very, very low is. So that's what I see as the greatest threat to the community. So thoughts.
Great. Stephen, thank you very much. That wraps up our questions for today. Before we move on to public comment, I would like to offer a sincere thank you to everyone for their well thought out responses to the questions, as well as their first statements. One thing I'd like to add as something to consider for all 10 of you is we understand that Tuesday is a bear of a meeting in addition to this appointment. The packet is well over 1,000 pages. So whomever gets appointed, we want to give you the opportunity to choose one of three things at your own accord. Full participation in the meeting if you're appointed. You can choose to skip a detailed appeal process if you choose, and then participate in the back half of the meeting, or you can decide to hold off on that first meeting, learn a little bit, maybe call us, ask us some questions. We don't want anyone to start on the wrong foot and want that person to make sure they're going to get involved as quickly as they're comfortable. And that first meeting's a doozy for you. And typically when you're elected, you have 2-3+ weeks to figure out how it works. Maybe ask questions of staff, Zoe, Kevin, our great clerks department, as well as other council members. So please keep that in mind. That's on your own accord. And with the holiday season, if you don't feel like you can digest a lot of pages and be prepared, that's okay.
We still have to be prepared though.
We still have to be. I didn't excuse anyone up here. So sorry about that. And so that brings us basically to our public input. The way we will handle public input is everyone will be allowed 2 minutes. There will be no back and forth between members of the public and town council or the candidates. And this is an opportunity to speak in support or opposition of a particular candidate. Keep in mind, like I mentioned earlier in the meeting, you have opportunities to email us, and you have opportunities if the candidates choose to go to the Elks Club on Monday from 5 to 7, where you can ask them questions in a less formal room than this today. So you will have opportunities, and I just wanted to make sure to point that out once again. We will start first and go through people in the room. And then once we finish that, we will go to people online if they have questions. And we got to hold everyone pretty tight to the 2 minutes. And do you have a sign-in sheet? Nobody signed up. Okay. And so then
Patty's raising her
I got hang on, everybody. So with that, if you didn't sign up on the sheet, that's okay. And if you're in the room and you would like to say something, please do. Patty was really excited back then. So we can welcome her up, and you have to come up, state your name, where you live, and unfortunately talking to the microphone.
Everyone. Hello, esteemed town council members. First and foremost, I'd like to thank all of you for your service, because I know it's not always the easiest job, and we as a town all appreciate you, even if we don't always agree with you. So a number of the people in this room already know me. My name is Patty Jen Arndt. I live over on West Columbia Avenue. I have been a proud member of the Telluride community now for 10 years. For those who don't know me, I think that the other people who do know me could probably attest for my deep love for Telluride. While we may differ in how we want to go about things, I think we can all agree how much we love this town, our community, and the people who live here. And we are really lucky to live in such a magical place. And therefore, we're also responsible to protect and care for it. I am here to voice my support for Maria Stark for one of the soon-to-be appointed seats on town council, as I think she is the person who wants to do just that, make sure that Telluride remains the special place that it is. I think that Maria's education, background, and expertise are hard to come by, even in a combination of people. And so having them all rolled up into one is basically hitting the candidate jackpot. Namely, Maria's background in federal housing and mortgage markets, Wall Street, and quantitative analysis would augment the town council's financial knowledge and ability to make data-driven decisions. That said, You can all see that easily by reading her bio or her resume. What you probably can't see as readily is that Maria's eagerness to learn from others, her genuine interest in understanding matters from various points of view, and her wanting to find solutions that work. As I've grown to know her in the last few years, I have found her to be kind, thoughtful, and responsive. And I'm almost finished. It's like the lights blinking in the
Patty,
ears.
sorry, I have
You're cutting me off.
I have to do a stop. Sorry.
Consideration, and good luck to everybody who wants this position. And thank you to everybody for putting your name in the hat. We'll all benefit from it.
Thank you very much, Patty. Is there anybody else in the room for public comment?
Hi. Hello. Hi. Emily Masson. I've lived here a bit. I moved here in 96. And I think I got really lucky in the terms of timing, because I think from the 90s is when we actually grew our middle in this town. I think that we got lucky. We lost a lot of the middle post 2008, more towards 2012, because what was that thing called? The Great Recession. Yeah, it was devastating, and we lost a lot of people. The foreclosure list was hundreds of people long. It was terrible. Okay, and then we replaced a lot of those homes with rental units. And I heard a lot about how we want affordable housing, and we all agree on that. I mean, that's something we can all cheer for together. Unfortunately, what I see with some of these affordable housing projects is they're packaged with some more commercial and big commercial, and then that drives the need for more affordable housing. So we're kind of on a hamster wheel. Speaking of hamster wheels, our taxes. Everybody talked about pricing today, how unaffordable it is. Every time we add a tax, we add to the price. Okay, so it's hard for locals to shop here even on Noel night because of the increase of taxes. We've also been on the hamster wheel of increasing our wastewater rates and our water rates, and those are fueling potentially future infrastructure projects, but we're prepaying for growth. Okay, so we're subsidizing our own demise in a way, if you look at it that way. Property taxes, somebody said 300%, and that's true. We feel it, and we're losing the middle there. So I'm hoping, I'm not going to advocate for any one specific person. I think y'all will be great. You sound like nice people, right? This was all a philosophical conversation. I'd love to hear more nuts and bolts from people.
Emily, thank you very much. I would like to remind everybody that this is a town council interview, special town council meeting. So we're going to keep our public comment specifically to support or objection of a candidate only, as previously mentioned. You have other opportunities for anything not on the agenda today to reach out to our town council via email, reach out ND1 to me as mayor, town council members, show up to other meetings for the agenda items based on what's published, as well as general public comment within the regular meetings, which resume on Tuesday. With that being said, is there anybody else in the room for public comment?
Hi, all.
Sorry, yeah, thank you,
Can,
Jenny.
can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm Jenny Gordon. I live in Telluride and have for many, many years. Today we have 12 candidates whom I sincerely thank for coming forward to give themselves to serve our community. You all sound like really interesting, good people. And I didn't know that from what I read, just from your letters of introduction. And this is really nice to meet you all. So as a 53-year resident of Telluride, I've seen many town councils all committed to do what's best for Telluride and its people. We've celebrated victories and we've suffered defeats, and we've spent lots of money. Although Telluride faces many important challenges, and we've heard all of these tonight, the most critical issue facing Telluride today is fiscal responsibility. We need a council person who can be a strong leader in financial planning. Ballot Measure 300 uncovered serious questions about monies that have been spent and continue to be spent with massive balloon payments in the not too distant future. And I don't know how we're going to handle those. And I would love to know more about that. With economic uncertainties this winter and the seemingly endless wants of our community, we need the candidate that you appoint to be ready to work on day one with council and have extensive experience with budgets, finances, and weigh the wants of the community with its needs and ability to pay. Maria Stark's application letter seems to show extensive real-world financial experience, and I would like you to seriously consider that as a top priority for the candidate that you choose. So thank you for your time, and you all are just great to be here, so thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the room for public comment? Seeing none, I will close public comment in the room for this evening, and we will go online to see if anybody's hand is raised. Can you guys check? There is nobody online.
Yes, there
is. We got somebody. Okay, great.
Yeah, Amy Levitt.
Hi, council. Hi, candidates. I think I'm really impressed by the people who have shown up, who have decided to throw their hats in the ring. Oh,
Sorry, Amy, keep going.
okay. Anyways, I think you've got some good people to choose from, and I'm really happy to see all the people who have come forward. I am supporting Maria for a variety of reasons. I'm really impressed with her willingness to talk with a lot of different people and to hear a lot of different opinions and to do her homework, to understand what makes this place tick. So I'll be very brief and just encourage you to appoint her. But like I said, you've got a lot of good people to choose from. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. Anybody left with their hands raised?
Jenny Franks.
Great. Can unmute her, please.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. The question tonight is, who do we want to see serving as a town council member? I know who I want to see. Someone with a maturity and level-headedness to address the concerns of all members of our community. Someone with the knowledge and experience to comprehend and analyze finance reports and reach a logical and compassionate conclusion in what is more than likely to be challenging times, which could be exacerbated by a potential downturn in the tourist industry or loans that the town may incur that we cannot afford, plus social and ecological changes in the foreseeable future. Maria Stark has the intelligence, knowledge, and open-mindedness to not only understand these potential problems, but I believe she has the capability to help us move forward to a healthy, sustainable, and unifying future. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Anybody else left online?
Don't see anyone.
Great. We will close public comment for this special town council agenda. That brings us to wrap up of this meeting. Once again, I would like to thank each and every one of the 10 of you, including Wendy, who's off the call, for making what I can attest for the entire council a difficult decision on Tuesday, and your willingness to drop everything to be here. We have, for the public, we still, just as a reminder, it was mentioned earlier in the meeting, we will have a public meet and greet forum at the Elks Club on West Pacific Street, Monday, December 15th, between 5 and 7 p.m. Grab a cocktail and talk to your favorite candidate and someone you don't know, and make sure you get us your opinions before 8 p.m. on Monday evening. And then Tuesday, It's 9:30 we will start. We'll start a half hour earlier because it's a doozy of a meeting, including this appointment. And the first topic on that agenda is public comment. So if you're listening out there or in the room, you will have another opportunity to speak for or against any one of these 10 wonderful people. And then you can also, if you can't show up to the meeting Tuesday, can't show up to the Elks on Monday, we all realize it's short notice, please email those comments to the town clerk. And that is townclerk@telluride.gov. Once again, townclerk@telluride.gov. With that, that will wrap up our special town council meeting for today, and we will adjourn by mutual consent.
Went quicker than I thought.